and giving it to the richest people in America, just as they did in 2017, the last time they had the White House and the majority in the Congress. They put a tax bill that gave 83% of the benefits to the top 1%. To the top 1%. It's sinful. It's immoral. It's wrong. But let me just say this, because I think it's important to know. We're saying they're cutting Medicaid and SNAP and all that to pay for their tax cut. No, they're taking their tax cut no matter what. They don't care if it's paid for or not. What they're trying to do is undo governance for the people. Undo Medicare, undo Medicaid, undo Medicare. So understand, this is a bigger plot. This is a bigger plot than their usual tax cut. Now, last time, they're so fiscally sound. We can't feed the children because it's going to add to the national debt. No, we can give tax breaks to the richest people in America. It added $2 trillion in 2017. It added $2 trillion to the national debt. This time, chicken feed. They want to add $4.5 trillion to the national debt. Boom. And at the same time, talk about cutting, now $1 trillion, over $700 billion from Medicaid, $300 billion from SNAP. Just that, $1 trillion. Food out of the mouths of babies, money in the pocket of billionaires. It's just plain wrong. But we have to be hopeful, because in 17, when they did what they did, in 18, with the help of so many of you, we were able to have 10,000 events around the country to save the Affordable Care Act. Now we have to save Medicaid. Hands off our Medicaid. Hands off our Medicaid. Hands off our Medicaid. No tax break for billionaires. You know, some of these billionaires, they say, oh, I'm so tired of hearing Democrats say no taxes, no tax breaks for billionaires. You're tired of it? Well, we're tired of tax breaks for billionaires. You want to be tired? You ain't seen nothing yet. Because in 18 months, with your help, just as we did in 17, when 18, we won back the House. In 18, we stopped them in their tracks because they couldn't do anything more. They didn't have the House. So in 18 months, Hakeem Jeffries will be the Speaker of the House, and it'll be the end of what they plan to do. But we can't do it without you. So as I say, know your power. Thank you. Hey, you said we can end gun violence. You probably know this. Thank you for that. What they have in this bill, there's a $200 tax on silencers. It's been there for almost 100 years, since like 1930. 2,000 tax on silence. They're taking it off. They're taking it off. It's going to lift over $1 billion. Is that wrong? I mean, it's silencers over about 100 years. They're doing that. They're going after a woman's right to choose, everything that is about family. So thank you for families over billionaires, babies over billionaires. Thank you, Planned Parenthood. Thank all of you for what you are doing. Tax our rich. Tax our... Hands off our Medicaid. Hands off our Medicaid. And let me just say this one last thing, because people say, oh, it's just for poor people. One of them said, if you believe this, one of the Republicans said, why do people think that they should have Medicaid? Oh, really? So here's the thing. People say, oh, it's for poor children. That would be justification enough. That's our moral responsibility. But it's a middle-class benefit as well, because what it does is for families that need long-term care for seniors, they have to have that. And if families have people with disabilities, they need to have that, whatever their income level. So this is about everybody in our country being affected. We just have to make sure, and my daughter Christina, we just got off the phone, we're making the calls to Republican districts from their own constituents. Nothing is more eloquent to a member of Congress than the voice of their own constituents. So tell your friends who live in Republican districts to call them and tell them, we know what you're doing, so that they know to be afraid. They may be afraid of what's his name, but they got to be afraid of you too. Thank you all. Hands off our Medicaid.
Got to go. Hey, hey. Our next speaker has been working tirelessly day and, you better believe, night to counteract the Republicans' billionaire tax scam. Please join me in welcoming Congressman Brendan Boyle of Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Thank you. Especially to the guy with the Phillies hat. First place. All right, I'm going to bring us back united here. We went a little slightly divisive there. We're going to come back united. And folks, I apologize if I'm a little punchy. I was testifying between 1 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. I was wondering who was watching C-SPAN during those hours. C-SPAN after dark. It's a lot of fun. Folks, if you're proud of something, if you really want people to see it, you don't start the committee at 1 o'clock in the morning hoping people won't be tuned in. And here's why they're embarrassed. And these aren't my numbers. These aren't coming from CAP. These aren't coming from any progressive group. These are the numbers from the official scorekeepers, the CBO. The people who just tell it like it is with the numbers. In this bill, the largest Medicaid cuts in American history. In this bill, the largest cuts to nutrition and food assistance in American history. In this bill, they finally achieved their 15-year quest to put a serious dent into the Affordable Care Act. By the way, when you take the Medicaid cuts that will force millions of people to lose their health care, combined with the cuts to the Affordable Care Act, according to CBO, almost 14 million Americans will lose their health care. As Hakeem said, the greatest loss of health care in American history will be because of this bill if it passes. And that, if it isn't bad enough, is not all. Thank you, those two. Yes. That's not all. Last night in my testimony, or early this morning, at a little about 2 o'clock in the morning, I dropped the bombshell. I had just received a letter as I was walking in from the head of CBO. About a month ago, I had requested an analysis. What impact would this increase in deficit do to Medicare, given we operate under something called PAYGO? Congressional Budget Office confirmed. This bill becomes law. Sequestration of Medicare happens. $500 billion worth of cuts to Medicare, also in this bill. And why? Why are they doing this? To help fund tax cuts for billionaires. It is bad economics. It is also deeply immoral. Just listen to that bleeding heart senator, Josh Hawley, who called, and by the way, he wasn't misquoted. This was an op-ed he wrote just a few days ago. He called the cuts to Medicaid morally wrong. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Josh Hawley is right. Look, this is going to be one of the most important votes, frankly, of the lifetime of any of us here. We have never seen, ever, cuts proposed like this to Medicaid. We've never seen cuts proposed like this to Medicare. We have never seen cuts like this. We have seen them proposed but not enacted to Obamacare. And the list goes on and on and on. And why? To transfer wealth. For the crowd that always says we don't believe in class warfare, well, why are you practicing it then? Because what was also in the CBO analysis last night, released separately, was actually the distribution tables. Now, I know you start talking about distribution tables, wow, that's a wild time at a party. But they're really important. And here's what they show, and they were released last night. And I talked about this to the crowd that was gathered on the Capitol steps at 1 o'clock in the morning. And thank those of you who are still here, thank you for being there last night. And thank all of you for being here. You were truly doing such important, valiant work. We need it now more than ever. But here's what those tables show. For the bottom 10% of Americans, they will be 4% poorer because of this bill. For the wealthiest 10%, they'll be 2% wealthier because of this bill. The group that will lose the most, the bottom 10%, the group that will make the most, the top 10%. So this bill will make the poor poorer and the rich richer. It is bad economics and it is immoral. We must defeat this bill. Thank you.
Let's give it up for Congressman Boyle one more time. The only man who could talk about distribution tables and make it compelling is the budget chair. I'll tell you that right now. The next budget chair. Our next speaker has been helping to lead this fight in the House. She has been holding Democrats together on critical votes every step of the way. Let's give a very warm welcome to House Democratic Whip, Katherine Clark.
Thank you. All right, some of us started out this day together. Who was there? In front of the Capitol at 1 a.m.? We see you. Okay, and you are the perfect antidote for what we have going on behind me. So we're going to have no more hearings in the middle of the night, and we're not going to have a government of, by, and for the billionaires. We're going to bring a little people power here to D.C. So when you try and sneak a billionaire tax scam past the American people, you try to yada yada over the details. You know, details like 14 million people getting kicked off of Medicaid. 14 million people. It gets worse. 42 million people, kids, seniors, working people, having their SNAP benefits reduced. 42 million people. And now we found out, as Brendan Boyle told us, Medicare, which just yesterday, the president was across the street and he said, we will never touch Medicare. Well, $500 million, $1 billion, $500 billion sure feels like you're hurting Medicare to me. And what are they hoping? That we're not going to notice? That we are just going to somehow wake up and not have health care, not be feeding hungry people in our communities? Well, you're here to tell them the American people are watching. And this movement is fighting back. And we'll meet them in the rain, we'll meet them in the shine, we'll meet them at 1 a.m. or 1 p.m. We'll be there. And they have shown their hand to us. They have shown us how they prioritize you. And they proved once again that they work for the billionaire class. Elon gave them $277 million in campaign funds. He expects a return on his investment. And they're going to pay for it by cutting women's health care, cutting children's health care, taking groceries away from families and seniors and disabled Americans. And I see a lot of Planned Parenthood shirts out here. So let's talk about that, because that's something else they stuck in there. They know that we have had the Hyde Amendment for decades that no federal money goes to abortion care, but that didn't stop them. They went in this bill and said they're going to take every single penny of federal funding, Medicaid funding, all the federal funding from Planned Parenthood. You know what that does? It translates into 600 clinics around this country that will close, that serve 2 million patients. While we have an OBGYN crisis in this country, we don't have enough places for rural people and underserved communities to go get primary care. And they're trying to tell us that they are going to end big abortion and defund Planned Parenthood. We are going to say, not on our watch. Not on our watch. So they think we aren't paying attention, and then they're counting on us forgetting about this between now and the midterms. But I know that each and every one of us is going to remind them every single day. They work for us. This is our democracy. Healthcare in this country should be a right and not a privilege. And we are going to ensure that we hold them accountable. I couldn't be happier to be in this fight with you. Thank you so much for being here. You have the power to make the change we need. Thank you.
The people united will never be divided. All right, we have heard from incredible members of Congress who are leading the fight to protect working families all over this country. But now we need to hear from an actual working family right now. We need to remember what this fight is actually about. These cuts are going to hurt everyday Americans. Those are real human beings and families who are struggling. That's why we're out here in the rain. That's why we are here, to protect those people, make their lives a little bit easier, not cut taxes for billionaires and rich people. So please join me in welcoming Ariel Bernard Jacobs to the stage. She is going to explain how the Republican plans are going to be devastating for families like hers.
Hello, my name is Ariel Bernard Jacobs. I live in Tacoma Park, Maryland, and I'm an event planner, a mom, a family caregiver, a proud member of Moms Rising, and I'm here today to tell Congress, hands off Medicaid. Like many of you here today, I am a member of the sandwich generation, caring for my 3-year-old son as well as my mother who has frontotemporal dementia. Sandwich generation caregiving is not for the faint of heart, especially in a country that has failed to invest in the care policies that we need, but Medicaid is a lifeline for us. When my mom was first diagnosed with primary progressive aphasia, she had just started working as a marriage and family therapist. She was saddled with student loans, a single mom, and was not making much money when she was forced into an early retirement at just 51 years old due to her diagnosis. Medicaid has been her primary insurance for nearly a decade now. It is a saving grace. It has helped her remain in her home and her community rather than a nursing facility. Medicaid covered her visits with her neurologist, and since last year, it has also covered her hospice care. The in-home team of doctors and nurses have helped alleviate her symptoms as she is now in the late stages of her illness. Caring for my mom while also growing my family has not been easy. At times, I thought the stress would eat me alive. But Medicaid helps give me peace of mind. Medicaid means that we don't have to worry about draining our family's savings or taking on deep medical debt in order to get my mom the quality care that she needs to maintain the comfort and support and dignity that we all deserve. Having access to care supports means that I can remain in my job as an event planner, which helps support my family and allows me to contribute to my community. The drastic Medicaid cuts in the Republican budget are heartless and terrifying for families like mine. They're also insulting. Surely the health and well-being of people like my mom is more important than another round of tax breaks for billionaires and giant corporations. Surely, keeping hospital doors open, boosting maternal health, ensuring kids can go to their checkups, and supporting seniors and people with disabilities should always be the priority. So I'm here to say loudly and clearly, moms won't stand for it. Moms say no to a budget that cuts Medicaid. Moms say no to more tax breaks for billionaires. Moms say no to drastic cuts to nutrition, education, and childcare. Yes, listen to moms. Thank you. Moms say no to a budget that puts the interests of the extremely wealthy above the needs of working families. I am so inspired by the amazing crowd here today, and I know that together our voices and stories are powerful. They matter. I'm proud to fight with all of you for the investments our families and our economy need. Thank you.
Stop the cuts! Stop the cuts! It is now my pleasure to invite another leader in this fight who is fighting for families like Ariel's every day, who remembers why he is here in Washington and whose side he's on. Please welcome to the stage Congressman Brad Schneider of Illinois.
Good afternoon. Ariel, thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for making it clear that moms say no. Before I introduce myself, I will tell you I am the father of 2 young men, not so young, 32 and 30. I'm a dad. Dads say no. Why are we out here? To simply say no to cuts that are going to hurt families, hurt women, hurt children, hurt our nation. The Republicans are doing it in the dark of night. We're standing here. It may be raining, but it is the light of day, and we say no. I'm Brad Schneider. I'm the chair of the New Democratic Coalition, a member of the Ways and Means Committee, and the representative from Illinois' 10th Congressional District. I want to thank House leadership, my colleagues, including Ranking Member Brendan Boyle, and everyone here who would be impacted by the harmful Republican budget bill, for all of your leadership, for their leadership, and for all of us standing here together. Republicans are conspiring in the shadows to figure out how they can line the pockets of Trump's super-rich billionaire family and friends and make hardworking families pay the bill. It cannot be overstated how horrible, how harmful this legislation will be for the American people. Just a couple of quick facts already mentioned. Nearly 14 million Americans will lose their health care because of this bill. We say no. Millions of children, many as young as 7, will lose their food and go hungry. As Brandon mentioned, the richest get richer, but this will lower the disposable income of millions of Americans who are barely making enough to get by. It makes life more expensive for the poorest Americans, and it makes tax cuts permanent for the richest people in the world. Republicans are calling this their big, beautiful bill, but it is nothing more than a big, awful deal for American families. Last night, the nonpartisan, this is not a partisan issue, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office confirmed one more thing, as has already been mentioned. If this bill passes by Republicans voting in lockstep with the president, they will take $500 billion from Medicare. This bill will also push the national debt, sitting at $36 trillion today. It will add $5 trillion to debt, which is why Moody Analytics on Friday lowered the credit rating of the United States of America, raising interest costs, raising the cost of living for hardworking families. Nothing shows the clear difference between Democrats and Republican priorities like this bill. Republicans are openly supporting the wealthiest Americans who have every advantage at their fingertips. They're supporting the wealthy Americans and turning their backs on hardworking families. Elon Musk over the single mom working 3 jobs to get by. Elon Musk over the child born with a life-altering disability. Elon Musk over seniors who rely on Medicare to pay for their health care. Elon Musk over moms like Ariel, or Elon Musk over my friend like Tanya. We are not going to let them go without health care. We're not going to let their kids go without food. Republicans don't have to do this. We don't need all the Republicans, just a handful to join us. As chair of the New Democrat Coalition, I know our members are willing to work across the aisle to deliver common sense solutions to the challenge pressing our country today. We would have welcomed the opportunity to work with the Republicans on a bill that strengthens our economy and opens opportunities for all Americans. But that's not what the Republicans are doing. Instead, they're pursuing the most partisan path imaginable to put the top 0.001% of people ahead of Americans who voted them for one thing. The election in November was about lowering prices and making it easier to make ends meet. The Republicans have done nothing to bring down the cost of living, and now are taking action to make the cost of living harder. It's not too late for them to do the right thing. We just need a few. We know what this courage looked like. Think back to Senator John McCain just a few years ago, who famously put his thumbs down out of the attempt to repeal the Affordable Care Act. We can ask if there's any Republicans who will show that courage today or tomorrow or the next day. I'm challenging my Republican colleagues to once and for all stand up, do the right thing, and reject this bill. It's the right thing for the country. It's the right thing for our people. The American people will thank them. It is now. Thank you very much. I would change the order.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, Congressman. Stop the cuts. I am so honored, I cannot tell you, to introduce the next speaker, my friend, my former boss, my mentor, Neera Tanden, the president and CEO of the Center for American Progress.
How y'all doing? I mean, how dedicated are we? It's raining, it's a little cold, and we're out here. Why? Because our cause is righteous. I've been around the block. I remember just 8 years ago defending the Affordable Care Act from the attacks. Many of us were in that fight to save people's health care. And today, we are dealing with legislation that is hard to imagine, but actually worse than the repeal of the ACA. And why is it worse? Because this legislation is the biggest con of any bill I have ever seen. These people talk a big game, election time, that they're here for the working class, right? How many times have they lectured us about the working class? And what is this bill? It is ripping health care away. It is ripping food stamps away. But fundamentally, it is raising costs for the American people and particularly hurting those who are struggling the most. And the one thing I would just add, a lot of people have given out the facts that are so important, is how absurd it is that these people are going to take a bill that they are literally writing right now. None of the people who are going to vote for this bill, if they vote on it tomorrow, are going to have read what's in the bill. How do I know that? Because the bill isn't written right now. This over 1,000-page bill, written in darkness, written in the corner office of the Speaker's office, and all these side negotiations to give more money to the rich, hurt Medicaid even more to garner the votes. It's all being done behind closed doors so the American people don't see it. And why are they rushing this vote tomorrow? Because they know if people actually see what's in this text and they actually understand what's going to happen, everyone would be aghast. So their goal is to ram it through when no one has seen it. And why is that so bad? I have never seen so much harm delivered with so little accountability or even transparency. And the reason why is because it's so painful. If people knew and actually read the text, they would be aghast. And that is why we are in a righteous cause to protect Americans from the con of this legislation, which is going to take from working class people in order to make the richest amongst us. And the thing we can't let them get away with is this con. So I am so proud to be in the fight with everyone here. Yes, everyone here. And just the basic message, don't rob the poor to help the rich. This is the biggest Robin Hood in reverse legislation that has ever been through the halls of Congress, and it is the worst con on the American people. And we have to fight it, and if they pass it, it will be a Pyrrhic victory in the House, and we will do everything we can defeat in the Senate, because America is a place that is worth fighting for and not being conned. Thank you very much.
I want these cuts to stay. All right, come on, close in here. Close in. We got people spilling out everywhere, and I've got a real treat for you next. You just heard Neera say that if they manage to ram this thing through the House, this fight is not over, because we are going to fight it in the Senate. And I am excited. I am honored. I am so pleased to introduce to you a leader in that fight in the Senate from Massachusetts, Senator Elizabeth Warren.
Hello! We're here because budgets are a statement of values. You want to know what a country truly values? Then look at their budget. And the Republicans are telling us who they value. They value the billionaires. They value the billionaires over our babies. They value the billionaires over our seniors. They value the billionaires over everyone else. And that's what that budget reflects. So we are here today to say, as Democrats, to say as independents, to say as Americans, we are here to say that no baby should go hungry so that Mark Zuckerberg can buy another Hawaiian island. We are here to say that no person with a significant disability who needs a home health aide so they can live independently should have to give that up so that Jeff Bezos can buy a third yacht. We are here to say that no one in America should go without health care so that Elon Musk can take a rocket ship ride to Mars. I want to say a big thank you to all of you for being here, and an extra big thank you to every single Democrat who stayed up all night in this fight, because they remind us, and you remind the rest of America, this fight is not over. In fact, this fight is just beginning. Now is the moment. Now, while the votes are going on, while the negotiations are underway, now is the moment for everyone to make those calls to their reps, to text their reps, to email those reps. And for all of you who say, already did that, I say, great, do it again. And then again, and then again. Because it is time now to raise your voice. Raise your voice for every baby who doesn't want to be hungry. Raise your voice for every senior who doesn't want to be kicked out of a nursing home. Raise your voice for every American who still wants access to their health care. And raise your voice to say to every billionaire, you can damn well pay your fair share. Make those calls, send those texts, keep it up. We are in this fight, and never forget, we didn't have the majority last time when they tried to pull this trick, and we don't have it now. Last time we beat them, we can do it again. Let's do this. Thank you. Thank you all.
Tax the rich. Tax the rich. Let's hear it again for Senator Warren. Come on. Come on. This fight is not just about numbers. It's not about policy. It's about right and wrong. It's about who are we for and who are we asking to pay more. It's about morality. So I am so excited to have the next speaker join us on the stage. Reverend Camille Henderson Edwards. She is the Senior Executive Director for Advocacy for the General Board of Church and Society of the United Methodist Church. I have seen her speak before, and you are in for a treat.
Good afternoon, everyone. As shared, I am Reverend Camille Henderson Edwards. I have the pleasure of serving in this space. I have the pleasure of sitting at the intersection of faith and advocacy to pastor for people of faith into this public square. And so in doing this, I firmly believe that our collective calling is to care for the whole of community. I'll also say that I am proud to stand with my brothers and sisters of other faith traditions. This requires interreligious cooperation. I stand with my sisters of the Quaker community, of the Catholic community, of the Islamic community, of those of the Baha'i faith, as we seek to do this interreligious work together. And so speaking from my social location as a Methodist minister, I am reminded of a biblical story. In the 5th chapter of the book of John, the story goes that there was a man lying by the pool of Bethesda. And every time that the waters would trouble, people would make their way to the pool so that they would receive healing. It was believed that this pool had healing powers. But every time that the water stirred up, people would rush past this man. And I believe that one of the reasons why we love this story so much in the Christian tradition is because eventually a man named Jesus comes to this man and asks him a question: do you want to be made well? But the text, I believe, is also demonstrating for us what it looks like when your community fails you. Of all the people that were surrounding this man, no one thought to come to his aid. No one thought to ask about his well-being. Friends, it should not be a miraculous intervention for people to be made well and to get the care that they need. It should not take an act of divine intervention for people to be able to put food on the table, or to make sure that their bills are paid, or to receive a decent education, especially when there are people around you who can contribute to your well-being. And I believe that what we are seeing in the construction of this federal budget is the paralleled reality of people lying by the pool of Bethesda, struggling to make their way into the water. All the while, the United States Congress is choosing to disregard the needs of the people. The community has failed them. The fact that families across this nation are struggling to make ends meet amidst rising healthcare costs is a sure sign that the community has failed them. Shame. The fact that we are taking away medical care benefits from our children is a sure sign that the community has failed them. Shame. The fact that retirees are being stripped of their well-being and being able to retire in dignity is a sure sign that the community has failed them. Shame. The fact that we have even come to this moment at this vote discussing major cuts to Medicaid and SNAP to this magnitude is a sure sign that the community has failed them. Shame. But one thing I love about this intersection of faith and advocacy is that we believe as people of faith that failure is not always the end. Congress has a chance to right a tremendous wrong. Now is the time that we do more to help our communities, not less. Programs like Medicaid and food assistance are overwhelmingly popular for a reason, because we want to make sure that our neighbors have what they need when they need it. Congress should be passing legislation to help hard-working communities lower their costs of living, to invest in our schools, and to ensure that our children are taken care of. I'm honored to stand here today alongside of all of you so that we may collectively say that enough is enough. Congress is elected to serve the people, and we will continue to ensure that they do so. God bless.
The people, united, will never be divided. We've heard a lot today about the cuts to health care. We've heard a lot about the cuts to nutrition assistance. That's right, you can boo. That is fine. I know you're not booing me. That's okay. But I have bad news for you. Those are not the only cuts in this bill. Those are not the only people that will be harmed. If that were it, that would be enough. But unfortunately, there are more cuts that we need to talk about. They are also taking away scholarships and college aid from low-income and moderate-income students who need that to get to the next level, to achieve their American dream. And for what? So that a billionaire can get another tax cut. So it is my pleasure to welcome to the stage Satra Taylor, who is going to share how these cuts would be devastating to students like her.
I'm short here. Oh my goodness. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here and standing in the rain. It is just beautiful to be in space with you all today. I am Satra D. Taylor, a proud first-generation college student. Yes, yes, yes. Pell Grant beneficiary and current doctoral student at the University of Maryland, College Park. I just love y'all. But most importantly, I am a daughter and descendant of Black, hardworking Americans from humble beginnings and a product of a community that poured everything that they had into me because they believed against every obstacle I would face that education could be my ladder up. So it's an honor to stand with you all today as someone whose future, like yours, is under attack. Thank you for showing up, standing up, and refusing to stay silent while House Republicans try to ram through a tax bill that steals from students and families to the lined pockets of billionaires. Absolutely, boo. We know here that no matter how hard we work or how many sacrifices we make, we're racing against a system rigged against us from the very beginning. As a Black woman, my path to higher education was never easy. College affordability, or the lack thereof, didn't just shape my journey, it dictated it. Colleges that I dreamed of attending became lost dreams, not because I wasn't qualified, but because there was no way I could cover the costs. The Pell Grant program and Graduate Plus loans were my access key to my degrees, but they barely kept me afloat. I worked two part-time jobs and still went without many days and many nights. I share my story with you not for empathy, because it's not an anomaly. I'm sick and tired, in the spirit of Fannie Lou Hamer, of people with stories like mine having to prove we deserve access to higher education and the promise of the American dream. Over the past month, I have talked to students concerned about how they will pay for college now that congressional Republicans want to cut or eliminate grants for about 2/3 of Pell recipients in all subsidized loans. I have spoken to aspiring and current graduate students who are unsure if staying in school is still an option, thanks to Republican efforts to eliminate graduate loans. Borrowers who fear they will live the rest of their lives crushed by student debt, and parents who are worried they will never be able to send their babies to college. This is not the American way. Higher education was supposed to be a great equalizer, not a lifelong debt sentence. Instead of investing in students and families, politicians want to hand billionaires another tax break. We're here today to say enough. Enough to a system that tells us to pull ourselves up by bootstraps we can't even afford. Enough to politicians who think our futures are negotiable. Enough to the lie that we should be grateful for scraps while the 1% feast off of our labor. We deserve more than scraps. We have a right to more than scraps. We deserve to achieve our dreams of an education without a lifetime of debt. This reconciliation bill is an attack on families, working class communities, and students like me who dared to follow their dreams despite the odds stacked against them in pursuit of making a difference. Thank you all for listening, and God bless.
Let's hear it for Satra. Come on. Come on. Now, if you're feeling a little bit of anger tonight about this idea that we are going to cut Medicaid and food stamps and student aid so that billionaires can pay less in taxes, you are not alone. You are not alone. Let me tell you, 80% of Americans oppose cutting taxes for billionaires and cutting Medicaid. A majority of Republicans oppose cutting Medicaid and cutting taxes for billionaires. Your neighbors, your friends, your families, you are the majority, the big majority. And I am very pleased now to welcome to the stage a woman who speaks for that majority. She may be a freshman, but her voice is loud and compelling. And I am so honored to welcome to the stage Congresswoman Sarah McBride.
Hello, hello, hello. Can we give a round of applause to every single person who has shared their story on this stage and underscore the importance of this work? My name is Sarah McBride, and this past November, I had the privilege of getting elected by my neighbors to represent the great state of Delaware in the United States House of Representatives. Now, I hoped to be entering a Congress that was continuing the good work that my colleagues and I were doing in the Delaware State Senate. I hoped to be entering a Congress that was guaranteeing quality health care to every patient. I hoped to be entering a Congress that was providing quality, affordable childcare to every family. I hoped to be entering a Congress that was guaranteeing paid family and medical leave for every worker. But I don't have to tell you all that that is not the Congress that I have entered. When I ran, thank you, I appreciate your apologies and condolences. When I ran for Congress, I said I would work with anyone who was willing to work with me to help my constituents, but I would stand up to anyone who I believed was hurting my constituents. And that is why we are all here today. We are here to fight for the person who's living paycheck to paycheck. We're here to fight for the family who relies on SNAP. We're here to fight for the patient who gets life-saving treatment covered by Medicaid. And your dedication, your determination is on full display. Because my colleagues on the Democratic side in the House, and every single person here, and so many beyond this crowd, we are ready to show up and fight rain or shine. We are ready to fight day and night. And throughout this reconciliation process, we've had to show up many nights. And listen, I'm not someone who typically complains about process. But this process has been so appalling. This process has been so rushed that we cannot but help call it out. Night after night, Republicans have been negotiating behind closed doors and passing their heartless slash and burn budget every step of the way without the view of the American people. And we know why they are doing this in the dead of night. We know why they are rushing this budget through. It's because they do not want the American people to see what is in this budget. But we will not let them get away with it. We are sounding the alarm about this reverse Robin Hood budget, a budget that steals from the poorest in our country to give tax handouts to the wealthiest in our country. A budget that would result in the largest cut in food assistance in our country's history. A budget that would result in the largest cut in Medicaid in American history and the single greatest evisceration of health care ever. This is a budget that imports the worst part of the private healthcare system. Needless bureaucracy and excessive paperwork into the Medicaid program in an effort to push people off the rolls, all to just partially pay for tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans. This is a budget that imposes a tax on working people, a tax on patients, creating new out-of-pocket expenses, breaking the foundational promise of this president's campaign to lower costs for working people. And I see many folks here from Planned Parenthood. This is a budget that contains a backdoor abortion ban. This is a budget that would close down family planning clinics across this country, including rural communities, threatening critical Medicaid funding if they dare provide the full range of reproductive health care to their patients. This is a heartless budget. This is a cruel budget. It is a chaotic budget. And we know that lives are on the line in this moment. Just a couple of weeks ago, one of my constituents, Caroline, came into my office. She has many rare medical conditions. She's covered by Medicaid, and she is able to gain treatment and care that allows her to live. And early in this process, Caroline looked at me in the eyes, and she said, "Without Medicaid, I will die." This is not just a deadly and dangerous proposal. This is a moral failing. And we are here because this is the fight of our time, to protect care, to protect food assistance, to protect workers, to protect retirees, to protect families, to protect Americans of all backgrounds, people who voted against this president in the last election, and yes, to protect people who voted for this president in the last election and who do not like what they are seeing. We are here for everyone, not major corporations, not billionaires, but working people. Those folks who are living paycheck to paycheck. People like Caroline who need Medicaid to live. And my colleagues and I, we will vote as many times as it takes against this budget. My colleagues in the Senate on the Democratic side will vote as many times as it takes on this budget to say hell no. And if it gets through and gets to the president's desk and becomes the law of the land, all of us will be voting those who voted yes out come election day. This doesn't end here. And we know that the power of the people is greater than the people in power. Thank you all very much.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
This administration has been taking a chainsaw to the things that we all hold dear: health care, food assistance, education, the public servants who protect our interests every day. I would like to welcome to the stage now somebody who has been directly affected by the Elon Musk chainsaw that affects so much of what we expect out of our government to be on our side. These are the people who are on our side, and Sabrina Valenti is going to talk to you right now about what this administration has been doing to federal workers.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out in this miserable weather to oppose the billionaire agenda. My name is Sabrina Valenti, and until DOGE fired me, I was a budget analyst at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. You may have heard of it if you've ever checked the weather on your phone. It was my job to responsibly spend taxpayer dollars on a major coastal wetland restoration program that built back Louisiana's eroding coastline. I know a lot of people think the federal government is just in DC and that it doesn't help regular Americans. But I also think it's important for everyone to know that the federal government reaches every town and city in this country. It reaches every county, every parish in this country. And if I could share a little bit about myself, I'm not just some federal faceless bureaucrat budget analyst. I'm a child of the Gulf Coast. I grew up in Northwest Florida. I started my career after going to college in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I was proud to work for the state of Louisiana. Go Tigers, anyone? That's right. And it was such an honor when I moved to Washington, D.C. to get to do budget work at NOAA to keep serving the people of South Louisiana. My coastal restoration program invested millions of dollars every year to rebuild Louisiana's coastline, building land bridges and barrier islands, reinforcing the levees that hold hurricane evacuation routes that Louisianans use when a storm comes. Every dollar my program spent to protect South Louisiana is an investment in the future, and it's an investment that saves FEMA an awful lot of money every time a hurricane strikes. In my years as a budget professional, I have witnessed a lot of appropriations fights, but this one is different. This Congress wants to appropriate money away from poor people so they can give tax breaks to the rich. This Congress wants to cut funding from Medicaid, from health research, from foreign aid. They want to take away money from programs like mine that protect the poorest and most vulnerable Americans. They want to take away hurricane protections when we're a week and a half away from the start of hurricane season. They're doing all of this under the guise of efficiency, but we all know what they really want, and that's to line their own pockets. When DOGE started shredding the federal government, Elon Musk said he would save $2 trillion in government spending. But since this administration took power, he revised that down. First he said, well, it's only going to be $500 billion. Now he's saying it's only going to be $160 billion. And while he's doing this, hundreds of thousands of Americans are out of work. Tens of thousands of people abroad have died of preventable disease. Dozens of Americans have already died from severe weather events, all because of these cuts in the name of efficiency. We all see the truth of what's going on. We know that this government is hell-bent on harming the poor and the vulnerable. We see how the wealthy people in this administration are working to line their own pockets, and we see how these cuts are going to cost this country more in the long run. So I'm here today not just as a budget professional, but as an ordinary American citizen, as a child of the Gulf of Mexico, to demand that we block this awful and ugly budget bill. This country deserves better. Our people deserve better. We need our representatives to go back to the drawing board until they can come up with a budget that benefits all of us. Thank you.
Stop the cuts. Stop the cuts. Okay, come on in. Come on in. We're spilling out again, which is great. You do not need to be a budget professional like Sabrina to know that this budget stinks. I was going to use a different word, but I'm going to just say that. My communications director is cringing somewhere. This bill is going to take health care and food away from people who need it so that rich people can pay less in taxes. It sounds like hyperbole. It sounds like political rhetoric, but it is exactly what is in their budget. And I am now pleased to present to you somebody who knows a bad budget when he sees one, who knows how to fight for working families, another incredible champion for everyday Americans, House Democratic Caucus Chair Pete Aguilar.
Thank you so much. Where is Sabrina? Thank you, Sabrina, for sharing your story. I only wish that the NOAA staffer could bring better weather, but it's okay. It's okay. Thank you. We are all here, and we are standing with you. We're standing with you for working families, because that's what we need in this moment. How amazing was Sarah McBride? Oh, my gosh. I get the benefit of working with Sarah each and every day, and I can tell you she is just special. But she shared with you her story. She shared with you stories she's hearing in her community. And we've heard stories from hardworking Americans today who would not be able to put basic needs on the table, food and health security, if this Republican budget passes. Democrats are standing on the side of people. People against the Republican plan to throw millions off health insurance, to rip away food assistance. That's exactly what this budget would do. We know which side Republicans are on. Our House colleagues are right there in the Rules Committee now. They are fighting for us. They are slowing down this bill. They are speaking up and speaking out. They are using every tool possible to push back against this dangerous and reckless budget. They are on the side. They are on the side. We know where House Republicans are. They're standing with wealthy corporations. They're standing with their billionaire campaign donors. That's just who they are. They're standing on the side of those who want to ship away jobs overseas. And the only thing that matters to them, the only thing, is where does Donald Trump stand? Because that's where they stand. We know that's the case. And as we continue to fight back under that dome, we need your help. And you are doing your part. You standing up and being here. You standing for working families who can't be here because they're working. For every one of you that's here, thousands of people wish that they could be here. They wish that they could be here to make their voices heard. And we thank you and we hear you. We are going to continue to make sure that the wealthiest in this country pay their fair share so we can strengthen basic needs programs. We're never going to stop fighting for a strong economy that lifts everyone up, that rewards hard work, and that makes necessities less expensive. I want to thank you so much for all your work, for your time and energy. Some of you have been out here since 1 a.m. We appreciate what you are doing. We cannot do this work without you. We will continue to fight in the Congress. We will continue to fight in the courts. And we will continue to fight as a community against this dangerous GOP tax scam and this reckless plan that House Republicans are pushing. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Fight, 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 fight. All right, before I introduce the next speaker, and I'm very excited to do so, I want to thank every single one of you for being out here in the rain to defend people who are not able to be here to defend themselves. That's what we are here to do. We are here to defend working people, people who struggle every day. We're here to make sure that they are at the center of this debate, not a bunch of billionaires. And somebody who I know from firsthand experience spends her entire life working on behalf of people who are struggling and trying just to make ends meet, somebody who's been traveling all over the country to bring the message of this terrible bill out into every community, the Executive Director of Fair Share America, Kristen Crowell.
Good evening. If the GOP members of Congress will not talk to their constituents and hold town hall meetings, then guess what? We will. They will not go down without hearing the loud, echoing voices of folks in our communities and our neighborhoods that are scared, that every night right now watching this play out are worried. What are they going to take from my family, from my community? And so we will hold them accountable. We have been mobilizing all across the country in 33 states. We refuse to be silent. We refuse to let this go down in the dark. And the reason is because this is personal. I got into this work 25 years ago as a working mom with small kids, fighting budget cuts 25 years ago because the rich are greedy. They will stop at nothing to enrich themselves off the backs of our work so they can buy another yacht or another jet. We simply want to live our lives with dignity. We want health care. We want to be able to feed our children. We want our grandparents to retire with dignity. And this bill takes that and rips us from all of us. They should be morally ashamed. They should be scared politically, because all over this country there is an uprising that the billionaires do not rule us, and we will not allow them to take our money and run off on their jets without a big fight. So I tell you, I've been all over this country in districts represented by Republicans, and voters and constituents from both political parties understand that this is a sham and a lie. And I'm hopeful, because I do think we have an opportunity before us to bring together a coalition of constituents unlike anything we've ever seen, to put the billionaire class on watch, to say never again will we believe the lies. Never again will we believe that you're standing with working people, because we know they're not. And I'm also here to tell you there is hope. There is momentum. There is energy. Folks are turning out. Over 70% of Americans disagree with this. So my call to action, if you're standing in the rain tonight, first of all, thank you. We need to keep the momentum up. So I need everyone to commit a few things tonight. This is the call to action. We heard from the Reverend who did the preaching. I'm going to do the agitating because we need to get to work. This is not a done deal. So I need everyone to commit, no matter where you are, all summer long, that you will continue to talk 2, 3, 4 people. Bring them to this fight. Bring them to an event. Call your member of Congress. Don't just call once, call every day. They need to know that we are fired up and we are angry. And if this vote happens in this building tonight or tomorrow, we're going to keep calling. We're going to keep organizing. And we are drawing a very clear line in the sand for every elected member. Are you with us? Are you with them? And if you're with them, we are going to be out, we are going to mobilize, and we are not going down without a fight. So hang in there, keep up the fight. Thank you so much. There is hope on the ground. This is not a done deal, so let's get to work, everyone.
You know, by cutting health care for millions of Americans is a long-standing fight in this country. Extending access to health care for every American is what we are all about, what every American is all about. This bill not only rips health care away from 14 million people